share a story about the first time I had American food. And I had just turned 6. I had been born in Korea, and we had spent the night literally changing planes, coming here to the States. My dad, of course, was military. My mom is Korean. And my dad would be based in Germany, Texas, what have you, but we stayed in Korea. And we came with him when he was going here to Fort Jackson, because he knew he was going to retire from there and he wasn't going to move again. So he moved us all over here at that point. I just turned 6. My brother was going to be 10 shortly, and my baby brother was literally 4 months old, not even. So I mean, it was hard on my mom, and her English even to this day is not good. So it was even worse back then. My brother and I hardly spoke any English. So we get here, and my mom is exhausted. Normally she's very strict, keeps us on a short leash. But we're in a hotel, and it has the 2 beds, the standard 2 double beds that's in most hotels even today. And my brother and I had never experienced beds. We had mats that were rolled out and then put away in the morning. Talk about making your bed. Anyway, so here we were jumping around and acting like little crazy wild ones, which we were, because we've been cooped up, we've been on planes all night, everything has changed, it's a whole new world. And my dad had gone out to get us some food. My mom was over there breastfeeding my little brother, and I'm amazed looking back that she didn't smack us down from jumping around like we were, but she was tired too, and we were all coping, and we were all hungry. We were all like, oh yeah, well, what kind of food? We're gonna eat American food. My older brother and I were just literally jumping around waiting for the food to show up. And my dad walks into the hotel room carrying this big flat box. And we're just like, oh, American food. We gather around the table, and he opens the lid. And my brother and I both really grossed out, because it looks like someone vomited into a box. That's what it looks like. And if you stop and think about fake vomit, if you put some tomato sauce underneath it and put a flatbread, it looks like pizza. And my dad, of course, got pizza loaded with everything on it. My mom made us take a bite, and my brother and I, we listened, because we know not to, disobey her. We took a bite, and no thank you, and went hungry. Keep in mind that up until that point in my life, I had never had a tomato. Never seen one, much less had tomato sauce. Never had it. Never had cheese. Dairy products was not big in Korea back then. I never had bread. It was a rice-based culture. We didn't live on base. My mom lived outside, and she still had family and stuff she dealt with, and we lived in the Korean culture totally. So here it was. A pizza is totally. I mean, the texture, the smell, it was very, very off-putting. Now, of course, we love pizza today, but that's just to show you something that if a child's not exposed to certain things, they're not going to eat it. They're not going to like it. And when people learn that, we eat squid, that's one of my favorite foods, and octopus, and things that are not normal, what most people consider bait, we like to eat. It's actually better than the stuff they're catching with the bait. And people don't realize how culturally ingrained food is. Recently, I bought a can of silkworm larvae. In Korean, they're called bundigi. And I couldn't remember the Korean name for it until after I tasted it, and it just popped in my mind. I knew what it was. And it was kind of an amazing sensation, because it brought a flood of memories, because this was street food back then. This is what was considered fast food. There was no McDonald's or fast food restaurants. You had people with a wagon or cart that would come around, and literally with the charcoal fire in a bowl would cook up things and sell it to you. This was street food, the original fast food. silkworm, because of the silk industry had a surplus of silkworm. And if you ever look at the process, it's kind of interesting. It's good to know that, it's not wasted, it's eaten, and it's extremely high in protein. And there's no antibiotics, there's no pesticides, there's no herbicides, there's no medicines. It's a much cleaner food, but the whole idea that it's an insect, most people will never give it a try. And when I try to explain to people what is allowed in hot dogs, not the stuff that they purposely put into hot dogs, which is pretty gross on its own, but that the FDA allows a certain percentage of rat hair in hot dog. Now, the reason why they say rat hair, because at the end, that's the only thing that will show up on their test as not being something that was put in purposely by the makers of the hot dog. But the only way that much rat hair gets into a vat is if the entire rat fell in. But because of the whole processing, there is no bone or meat that they can differentiate. But the hair stays the same. The hair does not get cooked down and ground up to where it's no longer identifiable. So for years we've only been eating kosher hot dogs, because the different parts of an animal doesn't bother me. Because if you're going to eat a cow, what's the big deal about eating the cheek meat or the heart or other organs or stuff in the cow? That doesn't bother me at all. And we eat squirrel, and if I was hungry enough, I'll cook a rat. But culturally, people don't realize when they go, ooh, you eat whatever, and what they have already put in their mouth. Like I already talked in a previous video about pus juice, milk. And if they only knew what they were actually eating, that squid may look, well, probably not, but may look more appetizing to some people. And depends on how it's cooked, and not to turn your nose up. Go ahead and try things. And I have a 2-bite rule. Because the first bite, no matter if it's something very strange, like you're trying silkworm larva, your mind is very clouded and very prejudiced on, what it's going to taste like, and you're already grossed out before you even put it in your mouth. So make up your mind you're going to have 2 bites. The first bite is to get past all those prejudice and take down some of those barriers. The second bite, that's when you actually taste the food. And the people that put food in their mouth and gag, that's a psychological response. It is not an actual response to the taste or texture or whatever. That's psychological, and that's what you got to overcome. And if you're not into survivalist mentalities and understanding food and culture, then don't worry about it. But I find it so offensive when I eat something, or even other people. I purposely try things I've never had, and I've never knew about even, because I just think that's a good thing to do, and it's an adventure. I'm an adventurous eater, and when someone comes up and never even tried it and go, ew, that's disgusting, it's like, how rude. Have they any idea how rude they are doing that, saying such things, and what they're missing out on? And while they themselves are guilty of eating things that are far worse, whether they did it knowingly or not. So anyway, my first experience with American food. Have you had any food stories like that? I'd like to hear it. Thanks.